Hello and welcome. My name is Christina from Empowered Creator. I'm a mindset and conscious manifesting teacher and coach, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I talk about all things law of assumption, mindset, conscious manifesting, the quantum universe, and a lot more. And my goal is to simplify everything. So if you guys like this content and would like to see more of it, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, and just stick around. Also, if you need any help with your particular situation, I offer one-on-one coaching, email coaching, small group coaching, as well as custom subliminals for whatever needs you may have. So if you're interested in any of these services, click on the links below in the description box and they're going to take you to my website. With all that being said, let's dive into today's video. So today I wanted to talk about feeling delusional about your manifestation. I know I get this feedback from many of you guys about feeling delusional, feeling doubts in your manifestation, not knowing how this works, if it's even working, feeling a little bit as if you're throwing techniques out in the air out of desperation, but not really knowing if it's working, if it's doing anything, especially if the 3D reality is showing you something different to the reality you're manifesting. You are getting those doubts, you're feeling delusional, you are feeling like you're fooling yourself and lying to yourself. So how do we actually deal with that? Why does it happen, first of all? And how do we deal with that? How do we rise past that so that we can actually have faith in our manifestation, in our desire materializing in the 3D world, and ultimately have faith in the law itself? So I've already covered some of these topics in past videos, but very briefly, for those of you who might be new to the channel, the reason why this happens, especially to people who are relatively new to the process and to the law and to these teachings, is that our logical mind and our ego mind cannot see past what our five senses are experiencing right now. They cannot see past what is our current 3D reality, and so they tend to discard everything else as a lie, as not the truth. And that part of our mind is always trying to warn us to not go into the unknown, not venture into that at all, because we might get hurt, because it perceives it as a danger of some kind. And it just always tries to hold us back. And it always tries to give us reasons why we should not go there, why we should stop, why we should not even try to manifest our desires, to be real, to be realistic, and all these things. In essence, what our mind is trying to do is it's trying to protect us from what it perceives as a risk, as a danger. And the problem with that is that it's holding us back. If we listen to it too much, we are going to be held back. We are going to be stuck in our current circumstances. And guess what? We're not going to manifest what we want. So how do we rise past that? So first of all, we know that we're not our ego mind. We know that we don't want to allow to be determined by our ego mind. We don't want our ego mind to be running our lives, although before we learn about the law and what happens with most people is that we are essentially governed by our ego mind, and that's how we operate. But knowing the law in these teachings, we can rise above that. And we know we have something called the imagination, and the imagination can see past anything. It can see past circumstances, it can see past obstacles, it can see past seemingly impossible situations, it can see past anything, and it can take us straight to our desires. Now, why should we actually believe our imagination over what our mind is immediately seeing in front of us? So it helps here to learn and know the fundamentals of the law, what it is and how it works. And essentially what we're doing is we are drawing from a field that is called the fourth dimension. Some other people call it the quantum field or the quantum universe. And that is a field of consciousness where everything exists. Every reality exists. Everything that you can possibly imagine or think of exists in the fourth dimension now, right now, because the fourth dimension is essentially the dimension of time. The dimension of the right now. The three-dimensional world is determined by the three dimensions: width, length, height. And the fourth dimension is all that plus time. So everything we experience in the 3D reality has already existed in the fourth dimension. It is a larger dimension, and so everything that we experience here in the 3D, in the smaller dimension, has already existed. All realities exist in the fourth dimension, and our imagination is directly linked to it. It's directly linked to the quantum field where everything exists. Every possible reality exists. Every possible version of every person exists, of our own selves even. And our imagination selects what reality it focuses on. And if we focus on it enough, that is what we end up bringing forth into the 3D, which is the smaller dimension. That is a reflection of the bigger infinite dimension of the 4D. Now, by the way, all this is backed by science and is being proven more and more through more research. So it is backed by quantum mechanics, it is backed by neuroscience, it is backed by psychology even. And as a matter of fact, I have just started working on a course on the fundamentals of the law and how it is backed by science for all those of you who might be more scientifically inclined. But anyway, to get back to the video, our imagination is directly linked to the fourth dimension. And whatever it focuses on is what ultimately shows up for us in the third dimension. So I hope that is clear. Now, the reason why we experience a lot of unwanted circumstances is because most people mostly focus on the things they don't want. They focus on all their unwanted circumstances, on all the unfortunate events that happen in their lives, on everything that they perceive as obstacles, as barriers to what they want, on anything at all that they perceive as something that is going to stop them from having their desire. Essentially, most people obey their ego mind and all the fears of the ego mind. And by the way, I want to make a distinction here and tell you guys that the ego mind is not a rational mind. This is not your rational, logical mind. It is a very irrational part of your mind. Fear is the most irrational thing there is. Okay? Fear is not rational. So don't fall into the trap to name that my logical mind. My logical mind tells me this and that. That's not your logical mind. That is actually your ego mind. So because our finite human mind cannot actually see past the current events, the current circumstances, whatever is right in front of our eyes, we have a tendency to believe that and to actually not rely on imagination, to actually see our imagination as something unreal, as a fantasy, as something that is not true, something that should not be paid attention to, something that's not realistic. So we tend to discard that and we tend to not pay attention there, but instead pay attention to all the bad stuff, all the unfavorable stuff that we see in our 3D reality. And so that creates a vicious cycle, as you can imagine, because the more you focus on something, whatever that is, that works for positive as well as negative things. So the more we focus on these negative circumstances, the unfavorable circumstances, what we don't want, we keep bringing that reality over and over and over from the 4D into our 3D, and we keep seeing the same old story, same old experiences, same old behaviors from people, and so on. That's exactly what's happening, and that's why we're experiencing unwanted circumstances in our lives. It's where we have put our focus and our imagination, where we're putting our attention dominantly, that is what we bring forth from the 4D to the 3D. Now, by knowing how actually the law works, and by knowing that our imagination is very, very real, and it is actually our tool to connect to that higher dimension that we can readily see with our senses or experience it with our senses, we can actually feel free to embrace our imagination, to embrace what we desire and what we visualize and what we imagine as our new reality without any guilt, without any shame, without feeling delusional, without feeling like we're throwing things in the air, just being desperate and just hoping it will work, but not really deep down believing that it's going to work. So we can now focus on the things that we want in imagination, in our thoughts, in our assumptions, in our feelings, in our energy, in our attention. And knowing how the law works, knowing that the law has our back, knowing that the law is going to give us what we put our attention and our focus on, we can actually bring forth the things that we want, the things that we desire, the things that we are looking to experience in our 3D reality. And by having this knowledge and this faith, we know that there is a meaning, there is a reason, and there is a purpose behind what we're practicing, why we're practicing it, where it is based, why we're doing it, and the whole reason and purpose why we practice this manifestation, why we're doing all these techniques, why we keep our focus and our imagination. It's not woo-woo, it is based on science, it is based on the laws of the universe, and we just need to learn the fundamentals and to anchor our faith and our belief there and just keep going. Keep laser focused, tunnel visioned on what we want. Stay single-minded, okay? So I intend this has helped. I'm going to wrap up this video here. As always, I very much appreciate you guys watching this channel and this content. You know that I love making this content for you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all at the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.